fur coats, frozen lakes, and people who look like they're laundering money even when they're not. If you've seen one of those older Bond movies, you know exactly where we are. A place where skiing exists purely as a prop for rich Britons to stand near snow and pretend they're doing something athletic. And that's the problem, because when a ski destination is better known as a luxury backdrop than a place to actually ski, it's usually for a reason. If the skiing was genuinely good, they wouldn't need everything else. So today, we're ignoring the designer hats, the champagne, and the generational wealth, and judging St. Moritz on the one thing it spent decades avoiding: the skiing experience. Let's start with the town itself. I feel like St. Moritz is where people go to escape Mayfair, only to realize it's just Mayfair but with worse self-service and a weird mix of cheese. Same accents, same energy, same people who somehow look disappointed no matter how much money they spend. The only real difference is that now they're all sitting on ski lifts, which feels less like recreation and more like a flat-out logistical error. I swear St. Moritz is the only place on Earth with a higher concentration of Englishmen than a former British colony, and for reasons still unclear, someone decided that the next logical step was to put all of them on skis and see what happens. And honestly, when you step back, the whole place feels confused. We've got German names, Italian-facing mountains, Austrian lifts, French skis, English tourists, and cows that I'm 90% sure didn't just magically appear halfway up the mountain. It's like someone built a ski resort entirely out of European imports, and then acted surprised when nothing worked together. Despite all that, St. Moritz loves to remind you that it's the original Swiss luxury destination. The first, the blueprint. Which I guess also means they pioneered the idea that you don't need a Mont Blanc, steep terrain, or even particularly good skiing as long as the vibes are bougie enough. Every other Swiss resort has a defining feature. Zermatt has the Matterhorn, Verbier has world-class terrain, St. Moritz has, cool branding, I guess? Oh wait, Snowbasin and Sun Valley use the same logo, and both somehow figured out how to pair it with a good skiing experience. To be fair, Switzerland is very good at a lot of things. Banks, watches, chocolate. St. Moritz just combined all of them, added altitude and charged extra. Sorry, I meant attitude. This place seriously has more ego per square meter than Vail on President's Day weekend. Side note, I find it kind of funny Zermatt banned cars to preserve the charm. St. Moritz kept them so you can actually leave when you want to, which is quite thoughtful, because after about 2 days here, you'll be actively planning your exit. And this brings us to the skiing itself, because somehow, out of all this luxury, attitude, and cultural chaos, St. Moritz ended up with, wait, how many ski resorts? Okay, so you've got Corviglia, Corvatsch, Diavolezza, and Legalp, the big four. But wait, Diavolezza and Legalp are on entirely separate mountains, and the only way to get between them is via these really flat catwalks? If that counts, then by the same logic, shouldn't Corviglia and Corvatsch be considered one mountain too? Also, Diavolezza, Legalp, and Corvatsch are on the same trail map, even though you have to drive through an entirely different valley to get between them. The ski patrol at Corvatsch wears uniforms that say Corvatsch, Diavolezza, Legalp. So, are those all one mountain? Are they two mountains? Are all four actually just one very confused mountain? And what about all these smaller mountains nobody seems to care about? As it turns out, all of this comes down to some crazy ownership history, which is as follows. Around this time, the Legalp skiing area, which belonged to Engadine St. Moritz Mountains AG, was due to be closed for financial reasons. I mean, seriously. Trying to understand this thing is about as straightforward as untangling Christmas lights and mittens. But anyway, depending on how you slice it, St. Moritz has either 1, 2, 3, or 4 main ski areas, plus about 5 mini fun-sized ones that may or may not be part of the whole package. Each one is just as confused as the last, and none of them are particularly interested in being good. So let's go through them one by one. Okay, fine, just the main ones. I'm trying to keep this video to a reasonable length. You know, Corviglia is a true testament to the idea that size does not matter, because when most of your slopes face dead south, it really doesn't. On paper, Corviglia looks big. In reality, it skis exactly the way you'd expect from the mountain that probably inspired St. Moritz to make a sun its logo. Among the 3 or 4, depending on how confused we're being, main St. Moritz ski areas, Corviglia is easily the worst. The sun hits hard, and in the mornings you're not skiing corduroy, you're side-slipping down what feels like corrugated ice. It's not edge hold, it's edge hope. And the layout doesn't exactly help either. Corviglia is home to some of the flattest catwalks I've ever encountered at a ski resort. Few things pair better with Corviglia's endless flats than a lactose-heavy lunch. It's a bold strategy, slow digestion matched with even slower terrain. I also find this number 26 trail straight up hilarious because seriously, who in their right mind is committing to a 2-mile long flat ass catwalk just to reach 2 short surface lifts that are the definition of an afterthought? Well, looks like we fixed the southern aspect. What about everything else? Obscenely long catwalks? Still here. Groomers? Still mid. Nope, this is just north-facing Corvillia, but with the weirdest lift network I've ever seen at a ski resort. Let's start at the base. Functionally, trams make absolutely no sense as out-of-base lifts. Aesthetically though, perfect. If it worked for Wham in the 80s, it apparently still works here. Then you've got some fancy bubble chairs mixed with outdated fixed grips and a borderline irresponsible number of surface lifts for a resort of this caliber. The lift network here isn't broken, it just never made sense in the first place. You know, now that I think about it, Corvatsch is the Aspen Highlands of the St. Moritz lineup, the middle child. It's not big or impressive enough to compete with Corvillia, and not remote or dramatic enough to match Diavolezza Le Galp. It just sits here in this awkward purgatory, doing everything somewhat competently, but nothing truly memorably. Diavolezza Le Galp presents one of the coolest ideas for a ski area. A remote location, 2 mountains, 2 top-to-bottom trams, and close to 900 meters of vert per lap. What could possibly go wrong? And yet, the execution truly leaves a lot to be desired. Let's start with the number 2 piste on Diavolezza. You'd think a nearly 4-kilometer red cruiser with fresh corduroy would be a borderline spiritual experience. Unfortunately, it's hard to achieve nirvana when, halfway down the run, you're forced into awkwardly catwalking around this stupid lake. Diavolezza, I know you have a dedicated hiking track right next to this piste, so please explain to me why I'm being asked to do it on the descent too. Also, just putting it out there, the Diavolezza Fern Quad is genuinely the jankiest bubble lift I've ever ridden. And then there's Le Galp, which frankly makes this part difficult, not because it's good, but because there's just not enough of it to meaningfully complain about. Le Galp feels less like a ski area and more like one of those pop-up carnivals that shows up in a parking lot for a weekend. You ride the one thing that looks interesting, walk around for 10 minutes, and then realize you've already seen everything there is to see. So yeah, Le Galp exists, and that's pretty much all there is to it. At the end of the day, St. Moritz isn't bad because it fails. It's bad because it never really tries. Every decision here feels optimized for appearance first and skiing second, like the mountain itself is just another accessory, except the T-bars on Corvatsch. I genuinely don't know what the hell they were thinking there. Credit where credit is due, St. Moritz is historic, exclusive, and ultra bougie. But none of those things on their own make a ski destination good. So if you're here for the image, you'll probably love it. If you're here for the skiing, you'll spend a lot of time wondering how a place this famous managed to be this forgettable. All my love, I'm out.